Hey there, folks!
And welcome back for another year
of DBcember.
I'm Kaiser Neko.
I'm Lenny Pator.
And I'm Takahata 101.
We hope you're ready for another December dedicated entirely to Dragon Ball.
Like last year, we'll be counting down every day until Christmas, and this year it'll be the top 24 movies and specials.
And at the very end on Christmas Day, you'll get a special premiere on Team4Star.com that will go up a couple days later on YouTube.
Honestly, it's thanks to the release of Resurrection F
Available now on Blu-ray and DVD right now, I'm in it.
that we even have 24 movies and specials to choose from.
Wait, so doesn't that mean it's less top 24 and more worst to best?
Nope, because it actually still edged out the GT special, which again means
No GT.
we're so mean.
The criteria for where these are placed on the list isn't exactly airtight, but the primary qualities we're looking for are how close the characters feel to the portrayal in the manga, the way the movies and specials expand on the universe, and the uniqueness of the stories within them.
Not to mention overall production quality. Some of these have decent stories and feel uniquely Dragon Ball, but are marred by lackluster animation and direction. On the flip side, some of the plots might be lacking or retreading old stories, but they look so striking and iconic that they help make up for it. Lastly, there's how much we enjoyed these movies overall, which plays a big factor.
Before we jump into this, a quick reminder, these lists are entirely subjective. If you take issue with the placement of any of these movies, feel free to let us know exactly how you feel in the comments below. But we kindly, politely, civilly ask you to do it in a kind, polite, and civil manner.
Or just call us a bunch of fat idiots. It's whatever.
And with that, let's get started.
With our top 24.
Movies and specials.
24.
Ha! You thought it was gonna be Bio Broly!
Nope, this is episode of Bardock.
What? My man Bardock is down on the bottom?
Taka, buddy, this isn't your man Bardock. In fact, far from it.
Yeah, while some people might argue the qualities of the special in terms of its crisp, modern animation, the story it has to tell is completely nonsensical first, and an utter gutting of Bardock's character second.
See, in this special, we start with Bardock being defeated by Frieza, just like at the end of his previous special. They also add in terribly forced foreshadowing about how Frieza took action, largely because he fears the legendary Super Saiyan.
But how is that foreshadowing? Bardock doesn't actually go Super Saiyan in this. He dies to the Death Ball.
But in fact, he does not. He totally goes Super Saiyan. See, the Death Ball sends him reeling back in time to the era before Saiyans even inhabited planet Vegeta. And then he is pitted against the evil ancestor of Frieza, Lord Chilled.
What follows is a complete alteration in character for Bardock that basically just exists to help service the plot. He starts off as an abrasive warrior we knew from his previous special,
Just long enough for him to build a connection with the natives so as to give him extra incentive to become the legendary Super Saiyan. God, this is friggin' dumb.
This list is meant to be a celebration of Dragon Ball, and episode of Bardock is a complete failure of everything Dragon Ball stands for, taking Bardock and imbuing him with this sense of grandeur and importance that only serves to make him less profound.
hey, and to sell trading cards and video games.
It's a cheap cash grab, a derailment of an iconic character, and ultimately serves to hurt the overall story more than help.
But here's the real question. Is it better than Dragon Ball Minus?
Damn it, Toriyama.
23.
Jeez, I almost forgot this thing existed. I'm surprised it's not dead last.
Well, it definitely tries. This special, based off an old choose-your-own-adventure game for the Playdia, which was based off an even older game for the Famicom, is about an evil Tuffle scientist who has created an unstoppable killing machine in order to gain revenge for his race, felled by the Saiyans.
That sounds oddly familiar.
No GT!
One Unfolds is a short adventure involving the return of 4 previous villains, Frieza, Cooler, Turles, and Lord Slug, in order to subdue the main cast before they can make it to stop Dr. Raichi's evil Destron gas emitters, destroying the Earth. Oh god.
This whole special was essentially created to help push the Playdia system back in the day. It's by no means heinous, but there's no substance to it. The idea of these ghost warriors is completely shallow, and everything about the plot sounds top to bottom like fan fiction.
Especially when you consider that the villains brought back are from movies 3 through 5, with Frieza thrown in due to him being the most recent from the series. It's just not a good story and ultimately adds nothing to the series, although I still personally kind of enjoy it.
Not to even get started on the original Playdia version, which is an even longer, more sordid mess, which stems from the fact that it was a choose-your-own-adventure game made into an OVA.
It's nothing but fan wankery with some decently animated fight scenes. The best part about it is its original villain Dr. Lychee, but Hachiak is a boring musclehead. Kinda like,
We'll get to him.
All in all, it's a forgettable reunion of villains that amounts to nothing.
Yeah, but after this, we've got nowhere to go but up.
22.
Oh.
Ha! You expected Bio Broly to come first. Shame on you.
But no, seriously, this is worse. This is actually worse.
We'll get into how and why Bio Broly is actually a better movie when we get to it, but for now,
Let's talk about this movie. So Broly's space pod, don't ask how or when he got in there, lands on Earth and he ends up frozen.
Goten and Trunks, teamed with Videl, find him while searching for Dragon Balls, which is something that happens a lot in these movies.
also there's some completely useless subplot about a mountain village sacrificing virgin maidens to dinosaurs.
We get a bunch of actually well-animated but poorly paced fighting where Broly somehow manages not to kill Goten, Trunks, or Videl, and then Gohan shows up and the real fight begins.
Besides the fact that the plot of the movie is utterly irrelevant, Broly is just pointless here.
He does nothing but grunt, scream, and mutter shout the name of the character who only gets 30 seconds of screen time in this movie.
It just feels like a total waste. Nothing is interesting, new, or fresh. Its inexcusable sin is being boring. Its only saving grace is that imagery of the family Kamehameha.
But that's infuriating in its own right. There's just so little redeeming about this movie, as so little actual effort went into it beyond making it visually appealing.
Which is why the next movie actually somehow found its way above this.
21.
Alright folks, here it is.
In all its mutant, sludge-covered glory.
The points in favor of this movie are the inclusion of Mr. Satan and Android 18, two characters that are primed for fantastic on-screen hijinks and action respectively.
Unfortunately, while their inclusion is a huge plot point, they fall off pretty quickly. See, the film is about this asshole right here trying to create bio warriors, but requires the world's strongest man to test their might.
Wait, I'm sorry, I just heard Bio Warriors and World's Strongest.
Da-da-da. So of course they mistakenly assume that Mr. Satan, the savior against Cell, is the perfect candidate. There's also a hilarious subplot about Android 18 shaking down Mr. Satan for the money he owes her, which ties her into the meat of things.
Yeah, and honestly, while the plot feels devoid of actual threat and urgency, it's not all that painful at the start, and offers some neat character interactions that the previous movies actually really missed out on.
But then Broly shows up and f***s it all to hell.
God damn it.
That's right, one of the Bio Warriors is Broly, whose DNA was stolen by the guy who, in a convenient thread to actually tie the movies together, was in Second Coming. And what does buck-naked Broly do the moment he breaks out of his test tube?
He gets covered in a thick, toxic sludge that makes him look like Swamp Thing f***ed amuck. Also, Goten and Trunks are there.
God damn it.
Noticing a trend?
This movie isn't quite as heinously boring as the others, but it's also just too obnoxious and childish to be considered enjoyable, despite the fact that the production values are pretty damn high here.
So, for all you Bio Broly haters out there, your hate is justified. But it's not the worst of the movies. Wow, can't wait till we can stop having that be a positive.
20.
Dude, this movie's boring as hell. How is it this high on the list?
Yeah, we had a lot of trouble finding a place to put this movie, as a lot of people have many fond memories of it, and it's got a lot of classic Dragon Ball feel to it. Unfortunately, it has trouble overcoming some serious issues on the production value side.
Its horror aesthetic is absolutely dreary, the film overall is poorly paced, the animation is incredibly up and down, and its storyline, while very original in comparison to the rest of the entries on this list, just isn't captivating. See, Bulma gets kidnapped by a vampiric lord named Lucifer, who leads an army of poorly drawn and animated demons.
Krillin and Goku show up to find the sleeping princess in Devil's Castle so they can bring her back to Master Roshi so he'll train them. Unfortunately, this interrupts Lucifer's plans of
Using his Devil Castle cannon to blow up the sun!
That last part sounds kind of cool.
I assure you it's not.
While we'll give it credit for trying to do something new with the material, this being their second movie and all, the visuals of this movie are just too rough around the edges and dreary for our tastes. Despite its numerous chuckle-worthy gags that do feel like it's ripped right from the manga.
I love the original Dragon Ball to death, but yeah, I have to agree. I found myself wanting here in a big way that both Curse of the Blood Rubies and Mystical Adventure delivered on, at least for me.
It's funny, quirky, and imaginative, but in the end, it's a lot like a vampire wearing sunglasses. Humorous, but overall ineffective.
19.
This movie!
Yes, Kaiser, we know this is definitely one of the uglier movies on the list.
The movie starts off with the enslavement of New Namek.
Man, they cannot just catch a break, can they?
It seems that Cooler has returned from his previous installment, and he's acquired a new metal body with the help of the hilariously named Big Getty Star.
Between allowing him to recuperate from an injury as well as duplicate himself en masse, he's also in control of the giant Unicron-esque planet eater. He even has a robot army at his command that are quite formidable to the characters.
That is, until they figure that they can beat them by just hitting them really hard. But honestly, while the movie is a tad on the ugly side, there are plenty of really interesting artistic choices made that help the movie stand out.
Metacooler's design is pretty sleek, and the movie is rife with homages to better sci-fi films. It's also the first time we see Vegeta and Goku team up. That being said, it's still basically a rehash of Frieza despite its somewhat unique premise.
That and the way they defeat Cooler, while different, doesn't quite make that much sense.
It's also got more than its fair share of plot holes. Then again, these movies are literally walking plot holes to begin with, so...
Definitely still give it a watch if you're a Dragon Ball fan. If not, just to see Vegeta getting kicked in the dick.